Hello, my name is Mitch and I draw Blood Force. And as the creative power behind Blood Force, I have a natural affinity towards team books with blood in the name. So, like Blood Syndicate. I never read that book, but I'm sure it was good. Or Young Blood. No, not that one. Or Bloodshot. It's not a team book. And I don't know if it was any good. But that cover by Barry Windsor Smith, that's all right. And of course, Bloodstrike. So today we're back with more Bloodstrike. This is Bloodstrike number 2. This is also Blood Brothers Part 2. Before we get started, if you enjoy the channel, if you want to support me as an artist, best thing to do is to open up the description. There's a couple of links there. First one will take you to my Patreon. If you were to subscribe there, that would give you access to all of the Blood Force pages. Also, all of these videos before they get uploaded to YouTube, usually a week or so in advance. And also any behind the scenes or Patreon exclusive kind of stuff. So that's worth checking out. Also, you can go over to my Instagram and DM me there because commissions are now open. So if you want your own Blood Force artwork, that's the place to get it. So yeah, back to Bloodstrike number 2. Okay, so this came out June of 1993. Bloodstrike number 1 came out in April. Not doing so great there. In terms of the cover, well, first of all, I kind of like the logo. That's not too bad. It does stand out a little bit from the rest of the stuff. I'd say it's better than the Brigade logo. Like, stuff like this. Yeah. Not a ton, but, a little bit better. And the cover itself, not too bad. I mean, we went with the blank background, which is never a great idea. With no color either, which, ugh. The figures themselves look okay. This is kind of typical Fraga from around this period, where everything looks reasonably solid. It's kind of stiff, though. But the hatching kind of holds everything together. I'm not sure if the inking kind of supports it, but it doesn't. Nothing looks like it's really falling apart. But it's just not 100%, good comic book art, basically. And again, we're taking a look at Cabot in all his Liefeldness, and we got gigantic shoulder pads and straps and straps and straps up and down the arms, pouches across the waist, pouches around the thigh, straps holding out a pouch over another pouch, pouches on the belt, straps on the shins, and then I think his knees are his power generators. And then his tiny little hand with his little backup finger that's attached on the side there. Yeah, okay. Not fantastic, but like a 5 out of 10. It's fine. So, this is, of course, plotted by Rob Liefeld, penciled by Dan Fraga, scripted by Eric Stevenson, inked half by Danny Miki, half by Norm Rapman. This is starting with Danny Miki. Actually, it looks like Danny Miki kind of gets the brunt of this. And colored by Byron Talman. And we can see here the colors, not too bad. They're not doing all sorts of weird shit. Like Brian Murray or Paul Mounts. Paul Mounts does weird shit too. I probably should have called that out more in the Brigade number 1 review. Oh, look at these tiny pouches. But again, they're solid. So that's something. So we start out with a completely wasted splash page. I guess it's like a pinup. Where, Cabot is loading his gun. So that, sure, okay. Listen up, people, because I'm only going to say this once. Oh, double splash. Vertical style. There we go. And again, everybody looks okay until you look a little bit closer. Like, I don't... Okay, Shogun looks a bit like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Deadlock here is okay. Tag here, you can tell those legs are way too fucking long. And if her legs are way too long, hers have got to be ridiculous looking. That's her right leg. And I mean, there's her belt. So, But you got to get her in there. And more importantly, you got to get her boobs in there. So they're saying how they let Brigade kind of get away there. And they're going to chase him down at Gate Industries. Which isn't the worst idea. So Foreplay and Shogun are going to head over to Gate Industries to go and try and finish off Battlestone and Thermal. And he's not anticipating that Battlestone goes to find Boone. And Deadlock is all pissed off because he doesn't get in on the action because he's the Wolverine character. You can tell by his mask. And Cabot's like, no, we need somebody to stay behind and guard the bodies that we're hanging on to because they're still holding on to Seahawk and KO. And I know these names off by heart now. I don't feel like that's okay. But, like, you look at these faces here, like, that's a pretty good face. And not the easiest angle. It's not the toughest, but, like, it does take a little bit of iteration to get that down to where it looks that kind of good. You know? This all of it looks okay. It's pretty stiff. And it looks like, you know what? Give him like another year or two of churning out pages month after month. If he can keep a monthly schedule, he might get pretty good. And I mean, we're going to hunt down Brigade until Brigade has been destroyed. Yeah. All that kind of stuff. All his pouches have kind of changed here. He's still got the pouch strapped down over another pouch here though. And I feel like that's the most important pouch of all. So, Foreplay is going to ride Shogun out here. So that is like just going to be like a standard thing. All right. And Cabot and Tag are going to do something while Deadlock guards Seahawk and KO. And this is one of those panels where you're like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Because if you look at it, like the floor almost looks like we're looking at it dead on, or even maybe like the top is canted towards us a little bit. When it should be the other way, theoretically. So just one of those things where a bit of a lack of experience. So now we're cutting back to right at the end of Brigade number 1, actually, where Battlestone is trying to convince Boone to hear him out. Decent arm from the side here. And it looks like he's going a lot easier on him than he was like on Thermal or KO back in Brigade. And, it's a different comic. It's still Eric Stevenson. So, this is a choice he's making, I suppose. So he's saying to Boone, I need your help. And he's like, oh, you need my help. That's a new one. When's Battlestone ever needed anybody's help? And it's like, it's a long story, but if you're going to listen to it, you got to come with me now. It's like, okay, John, I'll hear you out. I don't know how much I like it, but I'm with you for now. And like, why? Here you're just like, what makes you think I'd be interested in what you have to say? But just going to hear him out because he said so. All right. And then we cut to Boone's living room, I guess. And, again, there's that awkwardness where you can see how it would have been planned out, where it all would have made sense. That just does not look like a dude sitting on a couch is all. And so he walks through the entire scenario and says, this is why I need you. And he's like, okay. Now, where's the part where you tell me why I need to help you? And he's like, because it's the right thing to do. Oh, so Battlestone does the right thing. Okay. And people who help him are doing the right thing by extrapolation. Good to know. And that is not enough for Boone. So that's something. If we're not just doing like pointless... Oh, somebody forgot to fill in Battlestone's eyebrows. That looks pretty bad. Ah, well. Kind of unfinished inks. So if we're going to be like... if we're going to do a thing where just Boone doesn't go along with Battlestone just because Battlestone says he should, that's fine. But if we're going to have them just, like constantly rubbing up against each other because that's what you do in a group full of badasses, fuck that then. So we're going to cut back to Bloodstrike's hypersonic airship, which they do not describe as the Bloodstrike. And I'm disappointed, I got to say. So, Cabot is referring to Rome, who we referred to in the first one. Rome helped them teleport in and out of Jericho. And Rome replies in this computer font. So, I suppose Rome is an AI, seems to be. Refers to KO as the Asian, which is a little uncomfortable. Refers to Seahawk as the Caucasian, so that kind of eases it up a little bit, but not all the way. And KO is not doing well. He's got a broken jaw, 4 fractured ribs, right femur is cracked. That's bad. Multiple contusions in the cranial region. Yeah, cracking a femur is nobody's idea of a good time. Seahawk apparently is all better. And they do go to the extent to... They do point out that that's weird. Which is okay. So, as recent as 1/2 hour ago, he suffered from 3 gunshot wounds and a dislocated jaw, as well as a number of cuts and abrasions. Now, however, there is nothing. And they're like, okay, so he's got a healing factor. That's weird. Is he from the project? Nope. Is he a mutant? I would say no. And I can find no trace of tampering with the subject's gene structure. So, as far as they can tell, he wasn't born with a healing factor, but there's no scientific reason for them either, which is weird. And if they follow up on that, that is kind of interesting. A little bit. I can't imagine how they would make it into something that would be like satisfying in any way, or like, wow, like I didn't think you could come up with that, or just like, hey, that's a cool twist. But give him the benefit of the doubt so far, I guess. I don't know why. We've seen what Eric Stevenson can do if you give him a little bit of rope, but maybe he's turned over a new leaf. He's dedicated himself to not coming up with good dialogue. Maybe he's just like gone all in on plot. That's a possibility, right? Oh, Prophet's coming, y'all. Get ready. So, Cabot and Tag leave the back to tank. Everybody needs a back to tank. And so they bring up that before they leave, what if he wakes up? No, it's not going to happen. As long as he's in the tube, the back to tank stuff is going to keep him unconscious. It's like, okay, last thing I need is for that kid to come to and make his way out of the blasted tube. And as soon as he leaves, this chick shows up talking to Rome. And the Rome dialogue is a different color here, which could indicate... Well, I mean, to me, it indicates a different program. So either like she's got her own Rome, or it's Rome from the future, or the past, or a different dimension. Possibility. The only thing is, this chick is from Brigade Number 0. This is lethal. So she has a past with Battlestone. We should check out Brigade Number 0. Maybe it's scheduled to come out July of 93. This is June. So, I mean, we're keeping on track by not having checked it out yet. But like maybe after the Blood Brothers sometime, we'll hit some of those zeros that we've been missing out on. So she's in here to free Seahawk and KO before they come in for a landing. And Rome's going to help her do that. And see, don't quite have the hands down. Hands are tough. As are noses under masks. Sees Cyber Zerk. I mean, Cyber Zerk, I think we've concluded, does not have a nose. So, not really part of the same discussion. But, noses under masks, generally tough to do. So, she turns around and Deadlock's in the same room. And that... Okay. I don't feel like this needed to be a double-page spread. No, I don't think it did at all. There's very little dialogue. That's a big shot, but I mean, if you had it at the top of a page, that would have done just as well. That would have been fine. Down at the bottom, you might have looked even better shrunken down. Because this doesn't look like much of anything. And without twisting this body or putting it at a bit of a different angle, this looks flat and uninteresting. So, a wasted double-page spread, which is a shame. Uses his momentum to flip him over her, and not a lot of dialogue, for filling up the space here. I'm guessing he just kind of was allowed to go, so he did. So she takes care of Deadlock pretty easily. He gets the one hit in, she gets quite a few. And then turns around and Cabot's there. and gets him with a pretty good looking kick to the face. That's all right. And yeah, this is a very good cover. It's a shame, like, nothing in the issue looks as good as this cover. So, like, you think back to, like, Brigade number 1, Volume 2, number 1, which had the reverse problem, where the cover looked like shit, and the inside, by comparison, actually looked kind of good. Which one's better? I suppose, theoretically, what happened with Brigade. So, that is a nice cover, though. And they're just gonna, back and forth, punch fight. No, we're not gonna develop anything in terms of plot or exposition while the fight is going on. Which, I mean, they could. People do that all the time, where they just start talking in the middle of a fight, but they're not going to do that here. They don't even really do much in the way of, saying stupid platitude-y kind of shit. You want to tell me what you think you're doing here? Oh, couldn't you tell? This is a social call. I was in the neighborhood, so I dropped by to give you this. Kick to the midsection. And then shoots over him. I guess if she knows who Cabot is. It's interesting that Cabot doesn't know who she is, because, as we noted, she has a history with Battlestone. So yeah, but if she knows who Cabot is, she'll know that there's no point to shooting him. So she shoots the glass behind him, and again, a wasted splash page. But it's almost like there wasn't enough comic here. Yeah, for the whole issue. And then, yeah, by shooting out the glass, Seahawk awakens immediately and is ready to go with Cabot. All right. Decent pose. Not fantastic, but, yeah, not a lot happened in that at all, really. We didn't even see Shogun and Foreplay show up at Gate. A lot of double pages or, splash pages. A lot of explaining the situation. And then a reasonably extended fight. It didn't look bad, at least. It's not great, but it's okay. And then we get to the letters page. I just realized that this is Extreme Studios is located on East Catella, and the Catellans are the combat race. All right. I mean, I didn't know until now, so what am I gonna do? Bitch about it? And we get a little note here from Rob, actually. So, before we get to our letters, I just wanted to drop a quick note to let you know that the entire Extreme gang will be out in force at this year's San Diego Common. I assume they mean Comic-Con. Which is a little bit of interesting timing. I think San Diego Comic-Con just finished up, actually. Make sure to drop by and say hello. We'll all be available. Listen to this. We'll all be available for sketches, signatures, and portfolio reviews, and we'll be more than happy to field any questions, comments, or suggestions you might have. That was a different time. Where you could, just show up and, bring your portfolio and hang out with the Extreme guys. I don't know how realistic that is. I'm going to guess maybe not quite so much as Rob is saying. Because Rob has a tendency to just say shit without it actually referring to anything. And I'd also like to point out this will be my last public appearance for the remainder of 93. That may have been true. I don't know. I'm looking to devote all my time to getting the Youngblood regular series out in early 94, and I intend to make it the absolute best work of my career. It had a different look. I'll give it that. I would not say it was good. But that's just, I don't like Liefeld. The only way to do that is to get away and focus. Good luck. Which is what I'll be doing for the next 12 months. When Youngblood returns, it will be as a monthly ongoing series. That's right. Not a bi-monthly, not every 6 weeks. Monthly. Let's see how that did. Because normally I'm not going to take too much issue with what Rob says. You can just kind of ignore it. It's bullshit. He's just talking to hear himself talk. But when he says something specific, like Youngblood will now be monthly, it's like, okay, well, now you give me something to challenge there. So the next issue coming out, I think, doesn't count as far as Rob is concerned. Next issue is number 5, which is the end of the miniseries, technically. And that comes out July, so the next month, which is around when Brigade number, it's the double issue that has Brigade number 4 on one side and, Youngblood number 5 on the other. So the next one to come out is Youngblood number 6, June of 1994. Now, he didn't say specifically when it was going to start coming out monthly. He did say he was going to go away for 12 months. So, if that's what he did, he went away for 12 months and he wrote out the entire rest of the Youngblood story so that he could release it monthly. That would be something. That would be dumb. But, I mean, it would be something. So, June 1994, July 1994 for number 7. Would you look at that? September 1994. For number 8. September 1994 for number 9. Yeah, that's because it was Image X month. And it was done by Jim Valentino. And number 10. December. 3 months later. And that, by the way, is the end of Youngblood. So I would not say the monthly thing went too well. I don't know. Each their own. Looking through a couple of the letters here, mostly not super interesting. They do answer a couple of things here that I assume they were intending to answer during the comic. Eventually, they probably will. Are Battlestone and Cabot actually brothers, or are they just using an expression? No, they're actually brothers. So, there you go. Anything else here? A little bit. They seem to have very specific plans for Bloodstrike. I mean, they know that Bloodstrike, the first 3 issues are going to be the Blood Brothers crossover. So, we get a bit here where he's like, we'll be starting around issue number 5. We'll be running a 3-part backup feature focusing Cabot's origin and past. So that's issue number 5. And here he goes, what is with Deadlock indeed? So he's somebody asking about Deadlock. Seems to be a popular question these days. Unfortunately, I'll have to wait until issue number 4 for the answer. So issue number 4, we'll find out about Deadlock. And then here, believe it or not, there's a man underneath all that armor. We're going to talk about Shogun. Just to prove we're not joshing with you, you'll get your first look at him in issue number 4. So, okay. And somebody here asked about foreplay. They just say wait and see. So they don't seem to have very specific plans for the women. But Shogun and Cabot and Deadlock, we're going to explain in issues 4 and 5. So we should keep an eye out for that. And then we get a bit with something called The Night, which is created by Rob Liefeld, of course. And it's intergalactic Night Guy and his Wing Lady and Devilman sidekicks. And they fly down to a moon that is completely lifeless, so just rock. And this all looks like somebody's portfolio. Like, this looks like somebody who has never worked professionally in comics, and this is the thing they bring to a convention to be like, how does this look? Do you think I could draw some comics? Because you look here, look at this. This pose here is like super stiff and very specifically angled. This stuff here, like if you think of the black and white art, that's absolutely somebody's portfolio somewhere. And this is introducing Chuck Jones as the pencils, which is not a name I recognize. And so anyway, these guys land down on this moon, and then the photon racer there. And not only do they have fire hair, they also have fire sideburns and fire goatees. So they're committing to the bit. And yeah, like putting these panels going right off the page there, again, kind of shows you're not sure where to end the page. And these lines kind of conflict with these guys and everything. But you get your big cool shot with all the photon peoples. And then big double page thingy with splooch. And Yeah, not, lots of action. This is the first, I think, we see of the knight's axe, is that stick he's holding. We don't really see it before now. And she's like 3 times the size of this guy. And yeah, it's all very enthusiastic. I'll give it that. And then some dude just kind of shoots him here. And again, it just, it looks like portfolio shots. It's not quite there. The girl here looks pretty good, actually. I feel like he's been working on that. Even that foot there, it's a tough angle, but I don't think it looks too terrible. And then tiny little panels showing them all lying down, but the fist is here, which indicates they're either somebody's flying over them or they're like plastered up against a rock. Hard to tell. And Knight goes, "Nice try, idiot," and throws his axe at him, which, splorches in the middle of him there. And he does a big old no because his buddies are dead. And I think he flew off planet. And again, and even the inking looks unprofessional, but I think this is Norm Rapmund. It is. So, I mean, like, he inked half of this Bloodstrike issue, and I didn't notice anything particularly out of the ordinary there, although some of it does look very dark. Actually, I think a lot of that is the Danny Miki stuff. But yeah, so this is somebody's first work in comics, and it really looks like it. And I don't know the name, so I don't know if they stuck around. You could see if they, if they kept up with it, maybe they could. He's as good as a couple of people that are already in Extreme. And Trencher and Spawn number 15. And there we go. So that is Bloodstrike number 2. So not much in terms of story. Yeah, you can kind of see how this would go in the layouts. You get the prologue where we introduce Bloodstrike, then chapter 1 where everything gets kind of set in motion fairly well, really. Chapter 2 is when, what's her name? Lethal goes to rescue Seahawk and KO, and she gets in a fight with Cabot. And she releases him, and that's kind of it, really. And again, it looked okay. Not great, not terrible. And I'm really, that's about as much as I was expecting out of this series, I think. But, yeah. So next is going to be Brigade number 2 for Blood Brothers chapter 3. Exactly. So, so yeah, that's going to do it. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like, hit subscribe, hit the notifications. Go and follow me on Twitter. More importantly, go and subscribe on Patreon. That's where all the Bloodstrike... No. Oh, that's the first one. That's where all the Blood Force pages go. I thought it would go the other way. As well as all of these videos before they get uploaded to YouTube. Ooh, see, now I'm off my game. Before they get uploaded to YouTube, usually a week or so in advance. It's also where all of the behind-the-scenes stuff goes, as well as the Patreon exclusives. You can also go over to Instagram, and commissions are now open over there. So if you want your own Blood Force artwork, just DM me. That's where you would get it. But yeah, that's going to do it for this one. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.